Hi friends, welcome to my channel. I wanted to do something a little bit trendy today. Analogue's in, digital's out. You heard it here. You've probably seen lots of people doing analog hobbies, promoting things off your phone, and I am very for that. Though don't immediately go and run away from this video. Hi, I'm Rosie. My motto in life is to dress like a toddler and live like a granny. So here we do all things that fuel the inner child and also are a bit slower paced and crafty and joyous and just not giving a damn what other people think. I recently watched Lena Norm's video going through her analog bag and I was inspired because A, this is something I definitely do anyway. Extra activities, lots of little things, everything you could possibly need in the bag that I'm taking with me wherever I'm going, even if it's just around the corner. But what particularly inspired me was that she had this bag and she could put it in any other bag that if it was bigger, that she was taking. And I just thought it'd be really cool to make one. So I went looking for some patterns and started having ideas in my head, and we're going to do it. Now, the pattern I bought is actually called the large fanny pack pattern, which if you're US, you're like, yeah, that's what it's called. In the UK, we call it a bum bag. Fanny means something very different, but it is what it is. I just wanted something that I could swing over my shoulder, that could sit on my back or my front, but be swiveled round and not be upside down. There were lots of really cool swivel style bags, but they all sat on your back and the zip was at the top, which doesn't work if you then want to bring it round, because then the zip's at the bottom, everything's going to fall out. So this is the one that I went for. It seems pretty simple. It has a video tutorial. And I went and got some bits. I went to my local sewing shop. I actually don't think I've got quite everything that I need, but I think I've got enough to get a reasonable amount of the way through this, and then I'm going to have to order other bits. So I bought 2 zips. One of the things that I want with this is to sort of emulate those like matched colour bags a little bit, although I think I am going to go into my fabric scraps, so it's going to be mixed matched colour, pattern, everything. We're going for fun and whimsical. So my vision with this bag is to have it be mixed matched colours and everything. So all of the notions that I got are different colours. I got these little snaps which will fasten down the front pocket, which I am thinking will be my phone pocket, because I do still need to take my phone around with me, and if I put it in the front with snaps that are maybe a little bit awkward is kind of what I'm hoping, then I won't be as tempted to go into it. And then I brought a bunch of this. I'm actually planning on making a second like rucksack bag, so this is enough to have to use for that as well. I don't plan on using quite this much of it for this one bag. And then I got 2 zips, one in green and then one in this like burgundy colour. So we've got all the colours going on. What I didn't manage to find was a buckle. The pattern calls for just like a clip, plastic clip buckle. I am thinking that I'm probably just going to make it adjustable. I don't feel like I need it to clip done and undone. However, I may change my mind. I also don't have a clip to be able to adjust it either, so I'm going to have to get one of those online, I think. I think the next thing is to get the pattern all taped together and cut out the pieces so that I can then decide what scraps I'm going to use for the bag. I do need to choose slightly heavier weights, so there's a possibility that I might not quite have the right thing. I do have some like interfacing and things that I can use to make some fabrics a bit weightier, but we'll see. I'm just going to have a look and decide what I want to do. The true step one is going to be to watch the video instructions all the way through. This pattern doesn't come with written instructions, which is a little bit weird, but I do better with visual stuff anyway, so hopefully the video will be fine, but I should watch it through before I make any decisions because there might be crucial information that I don't know. I have stuck everything together. It's a new day, and now I'm going to cut it out. Right, we have our pieces cut out. I have 2 hungry cats bothering me for food. Posey's over there. Hassan's here. Hassan. What time is it, guys? Guys, it's 20 past. Have you not been fed yet? We gotta go feed the cats. And also the fabric's downstairs, so. Have you fed the cats, my love? Yeah. Ah. Yeah, I have. So they're bothering me for no reason. Maybe they think they can trick me for more food. Well then, don't need to feed the cats. I'm gonna pull out my fabric. I think basically I want 3 colours, maybe 4 colours. I definitely want sort of a mustardy yellow, a burgundy red, and a green, but it entirely depends what's in my stash. I don't really want to have to buy anything because I have my suspicions that this isn't necessarily going to go super well. It might go really well. Who knows? I'm going to get the fabric out now. I have successfully made a huge mess, but I've pulled out some fabrics. Of course, I always gravitate towards these ginghams. I love these. I've used these in many things. The only problem with these is that they are significantly more lightweight than the others, so they would definitely need another fabric or some sort of interfacing to make them sturdy enough to be a bag. I have quite a lot of like curtains in my fabric collection. Fantastic charity shopping purchases, curtains, so I thought these could be quite cool. They sort of fit into the burgundy. They're kind of more pinkish red, so that's probably a maybe. I then have, these are literally offcuts of some curtains that I shortened. This is actually like a, what's it called, Posey? Posey's loving exploring because we don't normally have space under the sofa because of my fabric mess there. Velvety fabric, so it might be a bit weird. It's kind of in the right colour palette and it's stiff. And what else would I use it for? I also have this duck fabric that I never use, but I love the little ducks, but it's beige, so I just don't want to use a beige fabric, but I thought I might be able to live with it being a lining. I don't have any mustardy yellow in here, so I'm gonna go look in my, I have like a drawer or 2 of clothes that need alterations or repairs, but they do kind of just sit there, so I don't have many qualms about just cutting out bits of fabric from them. So I might see if I have anything suitable. I don't want to have to buy fabric, but I definitely need some mustard yellow in this. Maybe it's a case of dyeing. I don't know why dye. Posey's very interested. Hello, it's a new day and I've completely changed my mind. So I chose my fabrics, and just the more I sat and thought about it, the more I have not been vibing with what it was. I think the thing is, in my head, I wanted to create a block colour item, and because all of them had patterns, it just didn't, the vision wasn't visioning. So I've found this fabric in my stash. I have no idea where it came from. It's, I think my best guess is my mum gave it to me at some point, but it's like a cotton canvas. It's fairly structured. I think it's going to work well for this. And I'm going to have a look at what dyes I have. And I don't know whether it's a better idea to roughly cut out and then dye, or whether it's better to cut out and then dye. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the pieces from this fabric, and then I know I've got enough, and then dye them. But first I need to check what dyes I have. Before I get any judgment from you about how much dye I have, I do have very much an attitude of if I don't love the colour, I will just dye it. So I have lots of leftovers. A lot of them look like this. So this is a navy. I then have this dark green, this tan, which last summer I sort of dyed all of the starch whites in my wardrobe a kind of off-white colour. No regrets. Then I have this bag. What I'm seeing here is that I don't have a red. This is potentially even more of a chaotic idea, but I think it's sitting better with me than the original fabrics that I chose. The other option obviously would be to buy fabrics, and I would only need a very small amount in each, but I really don't want to do that. So I'm going to have a quick look and check. I definitely don't have any red. I also have this pouch. I have no idea what this colour will turn out as, so I'm definitely going to have to do some swatches. Guess what I found in the scrap box? So I have red. I might over dye it slightly because it's a very vibrant red and we want more burgundy. But I am going to cut out my fabric, do some test swatches, dye the fabric, and then I'll have my fabric cut out to actually start sewing, which I wasn't quite expecting to be as long of a process as it has been, but we'll get there. I have planned out my colours. I have cut out my fabric. I've cut out the red pieces in the red. I also adhered some interfacing to stiffen the red fabric up a little bit because it's slightly less stiff than the canvas, although now it's kind of a bit more stiff than the canvas, but I think that's fine. And then I have labelled in sort of the seam allowances what colours each of the pieces are, so that I can't go wrong. Now I just have to do some dye tests and dye them. This is the scary bit. Also, I'm reading Agatha Christie's Seven Dials Mystery, audiobook listening, and it's just got really good. I think I'm in the last straight, so I'm gonna get back to that and go to my dyeing experiments. Right, first rule of fabric dyeing: prepare your fabric. It is all in the sink soaking. Problem is, there's a hole in my washing up bowl. Could be slight issue there, but we move. Second rule: read the instructions. Because this is a cotton, I think it should be okay in terms of taking the colour without too much heat, so I'm not going to do it on stove. So I am just going to use boiling water and mix the dyes completely, regardless of what they are and whether I should be mixing them together. Different brands, different ages. Some of them have salt in, some of them don't. I'll probably add salt and a little bit of washing up liquid just to kind of cross all my fingers. Maybe I'm feeling impulsive, but I'm pretty happy with that. It is slightly darker than I think is ideal. However, I'm fairly confident that this is not the final colour it's going to come out. I think it's probably going to lighten up. So I'm just going to put the panel in. I'm not in a patient mood. I actually only have one. In it goes. And now I'm going to sort of sit and stir it for, I don't know, like half an hour, something like that. Okay, so it's taken me some time and I had to recut the fabric, but I got there. And for anyone wondering at home, because I've been very confused, I kept getting distinctly orange, right? Even though I was playing around with the ratios of the yellows I had, all of that. So I just thought, I'm going to put a little bit of navy blue in, and a little bit worked very well. I then put in so much that I'm like, oh, this is distinctly green, and it still looks green. However, when it dries, it is absolutely a perfect match. I'm very pleased with myself. So there you go. If you want to offset an orange, navy blue. It doesn't seem to need to be in here for very long. It's such a perfect colour. I can't believe making it green was the solution. Once I've done this one, I'm just going to add more blue to make the sort of khaki green. So we are 2 colours down, and I think I'm going to be able to do the third colour in the same dye batch, because I've done this red fabric, and it's come out pretty good. This is the zip. I don't know if I want to match the zip, because I actually think the zip's a little bit dark for my taste, and I can always put the zip in a hidden spot if I want to. So I think I'm just gonna crack on with this, because this is the same green but gone over the red. I just realised I've made a mistake. I'm trying not to crash out about it, but I didn't cut out this tiny piece and I need to in the main fabric. I'm not entirely sure where it goes and how visible it is, so I'm gonna have a look. But need to not stress. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. Wait, so I did this little yellow bit, right, as the test, and it's pretty much the same colour as the big yellow. And there is, I think, just enough to cut this piece out. Wow, I'm so lucky. I can't believe. I don't know where it goes, so it might look really weird. Just a random bit that's yellow, but it will look, I feel less bad than if I try and colour match different pieces. I'm going to have a look and see where it is, and if it is really the wrong place, I might try. At least I have this for sure as a backup. Oh dear, that's so jammy. Hello there, it's a new day now. I have a few issues have arisen that I've realised, but I don't think any of them are going to be major problems. Posey's here. Hello, Posey. Are you inspecting? Yes, I know there are problems. There are problems, but I'm gonna solve them, okay? The first problem is that some of the fabric has shrunk. Some of it hasn't. None of the lining pieces have. Obviously, I haven't washed them. And none of the ones with backing, the red ones, but the other ones have. It's not a massive amount of shrinkage, but obviously now the pieces are all different sizes. Oh, wait. Stop it. Obviously now all the pieces are different sizes slightly to what they're intended to be. What I think I'm going to do is just get on with it, make sure things are centered, okay, and where there's different pieces of different sizes, just kind of trim the bigger ones to be the smaller size. That's okay. The bag is actually going to be a bit bigger than I was anticipating, so I'm not mad about losing space in it anyway. The other thing is, with the tiny piece that I forgot, the piece sits between lots of red pieces, so ideally it would be a red piece. I can't decide, I can't fully visualize whether it's going to look cool and intentional for it to be yellow or whether it's just going to bother me. So I think I'm going to get there and maybe see. Actually, maybe I can't get there and see. The solution that I think would be best if I do want it to be red is to take one of these pieces, which this is the front flap and it's double-sided, and to take the underside piece, cut it out in lining instead, and basically have it be dual colour, so it's red on top but the lining on the bottom, which could look quite cool. If it peaks around the edge, it might not look too cool. So it's a potentially risky move, but I think I'm not going to be able to dye a red, and to be honest, I don't want to be dyeing any more of the red. Excuse me, Posy. Those are the major issues. The other one is that I don't think it's going to take that long to do the sewing. I don't think it's going to take me very long to do the sewing in itself. And so the final issue really is that I don't actually have a buckle or anything for the strap. So if I... Oh, okay, let's not rip up my sewing pattern. Do you need some enrichment? Yeah, I'll get you a toy. Let me just finish talking, okay? So if I do get to the strap, that might be a point at which I have to stop. But I kind of think I might borrow a strap off something else and do it in a way that I can change it later. Let's get sewing. Together. I have a functioning pocket. It's the first time I've opened the popper like that. It's very pretty. I'm glad I made the decision to change my thread colours for different parts because it's definitely looking good, and I'm also glad that I just happen to have thread that kind of matches well enough. The yellow is not as high a quality thread as the others, but I think this is the only yellow really I'm going to need. I've made a decision. I think I'm going to go with the little yellow bit for those tiny bits that I forgot to cut out. I think it's going to end up looking kind of cool and deliberate and more of a style choice than not. It's too late now to use this flap, obviously. We'll see how it turns out, but I'm pretty pleased. I now have to sew a bunch of lining bits to the outside bits, which I think is going to be a little bit more boring. This fabric is so frayy, so prone to fraying. I noticed this when I was washing yesterday, but it's just coming to pieces at the edge. I don't have a serger, but I think I am going to zigzag stitch. The video says to straight stitch if you don't have a serger. I think I'm going to zigzag stitch, and then we're biasing over it anyway, which means I've got to make bias tape, which I don't know if I have the energy in me today to make bias tape, but we'll see how far we get without it. That's where I'm at. I'm very pleased with how this looks. Slightly annoyingly, I don't think there's a way to avoid making bias tape, so I'm just going to make some. Also, I'm realising that the pattern hasn't said anywhere how much bias tape I'm going to need. That's any man's guess. It's not a fantastic pattern. I'm getting on with it just fine. There's no written instructions. It's only a video, which I'm finding a little bit annoying because I can't just like recheck something very quickly. I have to rewatch the bit of the video. Yeah, there's just like a couple things missing. Like I've seen a comment already about needing lining pieces of this, but on the pattern it only says to cut in the main fabric. But in terms of how it's coming out, I'm pretty happy so far. I'm a bit tired. I'm wondering, do I make the bias tape and crack on, or do I call it a day? It's not that hard to make. I want to do it properly on the bias, but maybe I don't have to do that. Maybe I can just make it in a lazy way. I don't think it even tells you how thick of a bias tape to use, which again is pretty poor. It doesn't mention it in the notions that you need. It is technically an optional step, but I will. Well, you're gonna see what I do. I'm just gonna think about it for a bit more. I'm gonna have to call it a day there. I did do some bias tape. It's very lazy bias tape, but I think it does the job. It's going to stop anything fraying inside. Actually, this seam now feels like really strong. I've done some tasty top stitching and it's looking really good, but I'm pretty knackered and I've got to go and make dinner and stuff. We'll get to the rest another day, but I'm starting to see the vision. It's a new day. I'm not really sure what's happening with my hair, but hey, I think the next step is some zippering, so that's fun, but I gotta watch the video and see. But yeah, let's go. Posey's here to help. Being helpful, Posey, or a hindrance? I have all but my back panel and the straps attached, which is very exciting. It's coming together. I've had to work around the fact that some of the panels shrunk and some of them didn't, but it's all kind of lined up in the end, and look, it looks so good. The next step is literally attach the straps to the back panel and attach the back panel to everything else. So and then I think I'm gonna have to make some more bias tape just for the final seam. I'm kind of glad that I've been doing the bias tape because it does look better. I have some major issues with this pattern and the instructions because there are certain things, like at one point you were supposed to do something with a panel of it and he just didn't say anything, and then later he's like, and then that bit that you sewed into that bit, and I was like, you did not give any instructions on that at the time. And I have watched this video ahead, but you know, this bit should have been in there, but I'm gonna figure it out. Anyway, I'm nearly there. I managed to find a strap that I'd cut off another bag previously. So we've got our straps. I haven't sewn them down quite yet because I want to make sure I've got it all the right way around before I do that. Oh, it looks cool. It looks cool. Let's sew it on. Moment of truth. I almost didn't leave the zipper open. Well, I barely left the zipper open. I've got it. I'm really skeptical on some of these edges as to whether this is going to turn out, literally. I don't even know how it can have worked on the, if I'd done it correctly. If the instructions had been, oh, I've pulled the thing off. It's a great start. Oh, this is looking good. Oh my gosh. Guys, I did it. I did it. I think I'm just going to sew up the straps and call it a day out doing the final bit bias tape. And if I get to the final bit bias tape, I get to it. If I don't, I don't. Oh, I'm so pleased. And she's finally finished. I'm so pleased with how this has turned out. It's been a few days. I wore it for a couple of days, finished a couple of bits and added a couple of things that I thought, this needs this either for basic functionality or just to add to it. So I will show you. Firstly, I sprayed it down with a spray that I had, waterproofing spray. So theoretically it now is slightly water repellent. That's just because if it rains, this is all cotton, it was just going to soak through. So hopefully they'll give it a little bit more durability and practicality. We'll see how it is. It's just one that I had in my drawer. So I may need to, at some point in the future, get something that's maybe better. But for now, I'm happy. I did sort of run it under a tap and the water bounced off. So I think it's going to do for now. Then the quickest thing I realized when using this bag for a couple of days before I did the final touches was that when I was hanging it up, it wasn't very practical to hang up. I wanted it to hang from this end because it's more slim, it takes up less space, and it just, in terms of the functionality, that's better. But it was sort of slipping to hang kind of a bit wonky and not very securely. So I went in, I unpicked some of the seams and I put in the strap with this hook. And I'm so glad I did, because it's just so functional. You can't really see it when I'm wearing it, but it just adds a huge layer of functionality and practicality and usefulness and all of those words to it. Then I also shortened the strap because it just was a bit long, and made the strap finishings a little bit neater, a little bit nicer. I also went over and top stitched and reinforced the straps, because that's where most of the tension is coming from, and I wanted to make sure that it was definitely not gonna start coming apart at the seams at this point. Then the last thing, I think, apart from adding bias to the final seam that I did, which was hugely important, because when I was using it before I'd added the bias, the threads and the unfinished seam did keep getting caught in the zip, which obviously I don't want. Apart from that, I just added some cute little zip tie things, zip pulls, that's what they're called. I did some zip pulls, which I actually made out of a cord that I'd been making just as like a fidget craft that I've been carrying around with me, but I'll show you in a sec because I still have it in this bag. It's just acrylic yarn, because it's just some that I had that was low stakes I wanted to use up. But it's worked out because I've been able to make these cute little zip pulls, and I just lightly burnt the edges to seal them, to stop them from coming unraveled, because if you burn acrylic yarn, it's plastic, it will then melt into a little fuse at the end and seal it, which if you burn natural fibres, they just sort of crumble away into ash, so you can't do that with those, which is cool. And I think they look so fun. They're kind of a little bit out there, but they're not so obvious. I think that they are incongruous with the rest of the bag, because all in all, I'm just so happy with how the colours came out, with the blocking and all of that. I couldn't be more pleased. Let's get into what I'm actually keeping, or going to keep, or going to have in this bag. This will almost definitely change over time, and as I sort of work out what I actually use and what I don't. This bag holds so much stuff. It was bigger than I sort of thought it was going to be, but actually it's kind of the perfect size and just works so well. Let me show you it on real quick. Just sat here. So I can have the strap slightly looser, but I do want it to be like nice and tight and secure on my back, which it is, and I'm very pleased with. But when I want to get this stuff out, I'm gonna be able to just do that very easily. Zips here, get into this pocket, and then just pop it back on my back. And it's just so it just works so well. Like, I did not expect the design to be quite this smooth and functional. I was very intentional in picking the design because I wanted it to be one that I could do this with. I didn't want to have to take the whole thing off in order to get into it. I did want to be able to just fiddle, and put it back on my back. Or if I wanted to keep it on my back, a shirt like this is a little bit annoying, I'm learning, but I don't think that's the bag fault. I think that would happen with any bag that I was doing this with. I want to be able to put it on my front if I want, or my side. If I wear it looser, I can just wear it as like a side handbag thing as well. I've gotten distracted. I was going to show you what is in the bag. So I think I'll go front pocket to back pocket. Currently in the front pocket, I have my book that I'm reading. I'm currently reading a physical book and listening to an audiobook, and the audiobook I'm listening to is a Miss Marple Agatha Christie, and the book I'm reading is a Poirot Agatha Christie. I'm a little bit Agatha Christie obsessed, if I'm honest. My favourite genre, old people solve crimes. This front pocket is absolutely perfectly book-sized. Right, next pocket. Look how much space there is in here. So front pocket, water bottle. Doesn't currently have any water in, but water bottle fits in there. It does make it a little bit stuffed with a water bottle in, but the fact that I can fit my 32 ounce, 940 milliliter water bottle in there is amazing. Then I have some practical things. Power bank, my solar buddy. I am allergic to chemical sun creams. I have a mineral sun cream in here. I do not like the sensory experience of applying sun cream, and recently Bit the Bullet bought one of these. It is for kids, but And basically it just has a roller and a thing, and it spreads the sun cream on without you having to, well, you still have to put sun cream on your hands, but yeah, it's just much nicer. I have my keys, which I'm going to attempt to not show on the internet. Attached to my keys, most importantly, are my loops. If I'm overwhelmed in any situation, need it to be quieter, just a lifesaver. Mostly, I think I end up wearing them when I go out for dinner in restaurants and things. I can't hear what everyone's saying without these, and it just gets very overwhelming. Then I have an AirTag because I do not want to lose this thing. These are my backup earbuds. I hear you saying it's supposed to be an analog bag, Rosie. This is very digital. If I need to be listening to an audiobook instead of reading my book, I think that is still better than scrolling on my phone. Then I have this cute little bag, which is sort of a hold-all for the most whimsical parts of this bag. First up, we have fidget toys. Then I have some washi tape for some reason. I'm not sure why this is in here, but I might use it. Some sewing kit, this little worry stone. Again, that kind of fits into fidget toys. Bubbles. I try to always have bubbles on me. It comes in handy more often than you would think. A little notebook. I have this thing, which is very useful and will be particularly useful with this bag. Clips up, just is this little disc, and then you undo that and pop this on the edge of a table and it becomes a hook. I'll be able to hang this bag up wherever I go, which is nice because I might not always want to put it on the floor. And then the last thing in this little pouch, my favourite little tin. I got this with the explicit purpose of it being basically a whimsy tin. The trinkets will probably change out, but I have filled it at the moment with a variety of things, including this little hopping frog, paper clips, a tiny little jar of glitter with a little strawberry charm on it. Then I have these little stars, some googly eyes, I don't think you'll be able to see this from there, but I'll do a close-up. A tiny, tiny little seashell. Most importantly, an emergency balloon. So, back pocket, I have, first up, my medications pouch. Then I have, this is, I was talking about the cord craft. This has become like my favourite little fidget craft recently. It's so easy. You literally just cut out a circle of cardboard, get 7 threads, and then you move the threads around. You can look up tutorials for, I think, like star cords or something like that. TikTok, YouTube, you'll be able to find it fairly easily. Friendship bracelet, loom, that kind of thing. And it makes, yeah, just this cute little cord. I've got one on as a friendship bracelet, and then I used some of it for this, for the zip pulls. And it's just so useful because it requires absolutely no brain energy. It's very satisfying and addictive. And also it can fill like any amount of time. So if I'm waiting for an appointment of some sort, and I might be called in 2 seconds or it might be called in 10 minutes, I can still get this out, and I'm not worried because it literally takes very little time to put away. Unlike knitting, which if I get my knitting out and I'm started knitting and then I'm called, it's a bit like, oh, and now I've got to put it all away again. Highly recommend making yourself one of those. Then I have my everything notebook. Final thing is my camp snap. And again, not technically analog, but will replace me getting out my phone if I want to capture a moment, and also screen-free photo. No one can see the photo afterwards. This is something I loved. I had a film camera a lot for my teenage years, and the fact that no one could check the photo afterwards was just such a relief. I didn't have to mitigate people's sort of feelings about the photos. Obviously I had to deal with it afterwards when they were like, this film photo is awful of me, and I'm like, well, is what it is. It's going in my scrapbook and it'll live there forever. And then in 10 years, you'll be like, oh, I don't know why I thought that was an awful photo of me. It's so cute to see that memory. So this just is a lot cheaper. The only annoying thing about it is I really desperately need a case for it because it turns itself on in my bag all the time. And I end up with a bunch of blank photos because this button just is, if it gets pressed up against anything, the camera turns on. Obviously, there's no knitting project in here. I probably will end up with a knitting project in this bag fairly often. There is space for it. I have this week when I've been using it, put a knitting project in there, but there will not always be space if my project is slightly bigger. And this is kind of an alternative option if I'm not in the mood to be knitting, then I have other things that I can do instead of going on my phone and scrolling. So there we go. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it in some way inspired you to investigate the less digital side of your life, maybe live a little bit more like a granny. I cannot wait to be using this bag. Let me know what you keep in your bag to keep you off your phone, or what you're thinking of keeping in your bag to keep you off your phone if you don't currently do it yet, but would like to try some more analog things in your life. I think I've yapped for long enough, so thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next video. Bye!